Thank
Our
you.
market's going into free fall this evening. US debt defaults, as if it was never going to happen.
Well, I mean, there are a couple of reasons not to get in a stew about this, although it's kind of like, you know, arguing against the wind, because everybody feels like selling things off, then it's going to get sold off. But first of all, I'm not going to take the line that it's S&P and these debt rating agencies are like yesterday's men and you should ignore all of them, because I think they do a useful job, particularly with the more marginal income issues where, you know, an external opinion about something is valuable. But a sovereign rating to me is a waste of time, because people who buy US Treasury bills, they know the situation that the US is in. They know that they've decided not to go for short-term austerity. And they know also that the debate in the US has started to shift towards various plans to curb the long-term deficit, raise the retirement age, and so on and so forth. Secondly, you know, we know that all US Treasury debt is issued in dollars. So it's not as though there's any long-term threat of being repaid. It's more a question of what kind of rates will have to be paid in future. So to sell off the market on a story like this, I just think is ding, 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 ding. People are not paying attention.
I mean, we saw just ahead of last weekend the US almost went into shutdown, so the public service would have closed entirely because they just could not agree on any of those budget cuts that they're proposing going forward. Do you think they're ever going to agree on them, though?
That's the key question, because, you know, people who are negative about the fiscal scenario are saying, well, look, they can't even agree on, you know, trivial savings. So
can't even agree to disagree.
They're terrible, those people. You know, and the old joke about, you know, Congress taking credit for there not being a government shutdown is a bit like coming home from a dinner party and your babysitter wants an extra tip because your children aren't dead. You know, that's supposed to be what the Congress is there for, is to regulate fiscal spending and so on. But again, I think it's more about reading the way that the ship is moving. Yes, it's true that there is a disagreement about how these things ought to be done, but I think everybody in the US is now cognizant of the fact that you can't have, and in fact it's not just the US, it's global. You can't assume that you're going to have rising good fortunes and rising fiscal revenues and that you can spend and you can put through various corporate and social programs like Medicare and long-term pensions and long-term, you know, savings for those that are out of the workplace and so on, if you can't afford it. So, you know, for me, it's a bit like any crisis. You need to go through the shock, the anger, the recognition, and finally the resolution phase.
Well, we saw some of the riots or the protests in Europe when they raised retirement ages and announced austerity.
Yeah.
How do you think the people who shop at Walmart are going to respond to this?
Well, you know, they love Social Security in the US. It's a payroll-based thing, and they love their Medicare. You know, the US spends the most on healthcare of any nation on the world, and they love their new health therapies at the tail end of their lives and so on. But those things are going to have to go by the wayside. The Economist has got a great feature on it. You can go read it this week, where they talk about how the retirement age in the US needs to be moved to 70, because in the last 30 or 40 years, therapies have resulted in people being able to live longer. So, you know, to kind of knock off at the same old time when you know you're going to live longer and you know there's a shortage of cash to fund all of this is madness. Of course, people don't come to those kinds of resolutions unless they really feel as though they've had a chance to grumble and moan and wring their hands about it. But trust me, it's coming, and it's one of the key reasons why the current, you know, impasse, I don't think, should be taken as being a net market negative.
So a bit of an overreaction in the markets today, or perhaps just an excuse to take some profits ahead of the Easter holidays.
A wonderful buying opportunity. What do you mean?
Buy Easter eggs.
Okay, whatever.
Paul, you have to leave it there. Thanks very much.